Please subscribe to Blind Thoughts and press the bell icon so you never miss our next story. The night that changed everything began like any other quiet Friday, though I didn't realize how much my life was about to shift in the soft flicker of our living room lamp. Autumn rain whispered against the windows as Victor and I cleared away the remnants of dinner, the aroma of roasted garlic and herbs still hanging in the air. We'd fallen into a pattern lately. Work, quick meals, our own corners of the house. Comfortable, yes, but a little too predictable. So when Victor suggested inviting his son Brandon over for a movie marathon, I welcomed the break in routine. I had no idea the evening would pull me awake in ways I hadn't felt in years. Brandon arrived just after 7, the scent of cool rain following him through the door. He stood there with a grin that instantly warmed the room, shaking droplets from his hair like a dog just back from a run. I'd met him only twice before, both at summer barbecues crowded with neighbors and loud music, where conversations rarely strayed beyond sports or the weather. Tonight, though, the three of us had the house to ourselves. Victor greeted him with a hearty clap on the back. I noticed how Brandon's easy laugh filled the quiet house, a sound both familiar and unexpectedly new. We ordered a pizza loaded with vegetables the way Victor liked it, and I set out a bowl of popcorn slicked with butter. The three of us settled into the living room as rain tapped a soft rhythm outside. Victor claimed his favorite recliner, while Brandon and I took opposite ends of the sectional, a wide throw pillow between us. I thought nothing of it. It was just the most natural arrangement. The first movie was an old thriller from our college days. We traded jokes and half-remembered lines, the three of us laughing more than the movie deserved. By the second film, the room had fallen quiet except for the flicker of the TV and the low rumble of thunder. I stretched my legs along the couch, the soft knit of my socks brushing the blanket between us. Brandon shifted slightly, reaching for the remote to turn the volume down. His hand slipped, quick and unplanned, landing lightly across mine. It was a simple accident, small thing. Yet a sharp spark ran from the point of contact up my arm, a sudden bright jolt like static from a winter sweater. Caught my breath. "Sorry," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper against the soundtrack. "It's fine," I replied too quickly, pulling my hand back just enough to prove I meant it. The moment should have passed like a flash of lightning, here and gone. Instead it lingered, buzzing faintly in the quiet like a low electric hum. I became hyper-aware of everything. The scent of cedar that clung to his jacket, the steady rise and fall of his breathing, the warmth of his presence beside me. My rational mind scolded me. Victor was right there, only a few feet away. But the living room seemed to narrow until it held only the glow of the TV and the quiet thrum between Brandon and me. When the credits finally rolled, Victor yawned, stretched, and rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm calling it a night," he said, standing. "Long week." He kissed my temple and turned to Brandon. "You can crash in the guest room if you don't feel like driving home in the rain." Brandon smiled, but his eyes flicked briefly toward mine before he answered. "Thanks, but I think I'll head out soon." Victor padded upstairs, his footsteps fading until only the rain remained. Suddenly the living room felt different. Too still, too charged. Brandon and I exchanged a glance, neither of us quite sure what to say. The silence stretched. "I should probably go," he said finally, though he made no move to stand. "You can stay if you want," I offered, my voice softer than intended. "Victor won't mind." His gaze dropped to his hands. "About earlier. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." "You didn't," I said quickly. "It was just surprising." He looked up, eyes searching, as though he needed to see if I was telling the truth. I wasn't sure what he found there. My pulse thudded in my ears. Outside, the rain shifted to a gentle patter, like the slow beating of a distant drum. At last he exhaled and stood, breaking the spell. "I should go before it gets too late," he said with a small, almost regretful smile. I walked him to the door. We paused there longer than necessary, the cool night air slipping between us. "Drive safe," I whispered. He nodded, gave a faint smile, and disappeared into the damp darkness. I closed the door gently, the click sounding far too final. When I slipped into bed beside Victor, he stirred and draped an arm over me, his warmth familiar and comforting. Yet I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the echo of that accidental touch alive in my fingertips. I wasn't in love with Brandon. What unsettled me was the sudden realization of how much I missed feeling noticed. The next few days passed in a haze of quiet questions I barely admitted to myself. I kept replaying the evening, not because I wanted Brandon, but because that single spark had illuminated something I hadn't seen clearly: the slow drift between Victor and me. We'd been living parallel lives, intersecting mostly in grocery lists and quick goodnight kisses. By midweek, I couldn't keep the thoughts inside. Over dinner, I reached across the table for Victor's hand. "Can we talk?" asked, my heart pounding. "Of course," he said, setting down his fork. I took a steadying breath. "I miss us," I said simply. "I feel like we've been roommates lately. I need more of us. More time, more attention." He looked at me for a long moment, then squeezed my fingers. "You're right," he admitted quietly. "I've been buried in work and I let it happen. I don't want to lose what we have." The weight in my chest loosened. I don't want to lose it either. That night we stayed at the table for hours, making small plans. A weekend hike with no phones, a Tuesday date night, an agreement to cook together at least twice a week. They weren't grand gestures, just little promises, but they felt like the beginning of something new. Over the next weeks, those promises blossomed into real change. We found ourselves laughing again, sharing secrets we hadn't told in years, rediscovering small joys, the warmth of a late-night walk, the quiet magic of a shared sunrise. Brandon stopped by once more for a quick game night with Victor. When our eyes met across the room, we both smiled politely, a silent understanding passing between us. The spark that had once startled me had settled into a quiet memory, not a temptation but a reminder. Looking back, I see the truth clearly. That accidental touch didn't pull me away from Victor. It woke me up. It reminded me of the attention and connection every marriage needs to survive. Brandon was never the point. The point was the jolt, the sudden awareness that love needs tending, that we can't drift and expect passion to stay alive. As I sit now with Victor on another rainy evening, our shoulders touching as we share a bowl of popcorn, I think about that night and the lesson it brought. Sometimes it takes an unexpected spark to remind us where the real warmth truly lies.